there's a legal challenge to tariffs afoot right now. How do you expect that to shake out, and how does that play into the tariff talks that do continue with some countries like, as we mentioned, Canada, but also Switzerland and even China?
Yeah, there is a challenge to the bulk of President Trump's new tariffs over the last 6 months. Those are the reciprocal tariffs. At one point, they were called the Liberation Day tariffs. President Trump attempted, or actually did, impose those tariffs under a statute called the International Emergency Economic Powers Act, or IEEPA. The Constitution gives the Congress the tariff power. The Congress imposes tariffs, but the Congress also enacts these statutes that give the president the authority to impose tariffs in narrowly defined situations. But the IEEPA was never before seen as authorizing a president to impose tariffs. It was seen as only authorizing a president to impose non-tariff trade barriers. And President Trump didn't just use it to impose tariffs, he used it to impose tariffs on a very broad array of types of goods and countries of origin of the goods, so that even if it did authorize tariffs, it probably could not constitutionally authorize the president to impose such a broad array of tariffs. That's too much of the authority being given by Congress to the executive branch. Constitutionally, that wouldn't even be permitted. And so there was an appeal. The first level of appeal, the U.S. Court of International Trade, or CIT, struck down the tariffs, and the tariffs would have already been removed. But the Court of Appeals, when it was appealed to the Court of Appeals for the Federal Circuit, the Court of Appeals blocked the lower court order and said the lower court's order should not stop the tariffs yet. So the tariffs are still being collected, and the higher court, the appellate court, heard oral arguments yesterday. The appellate court in the oral arguments really expressed skepticism that the tariffs are legal, that they are authorized by the IEEPA. I think the CIT was right. I think the higher court of appeals is right. And I think ultimately the higher court of appeals is going to uphold the lower court, strike down the tariffs, and I think the Supreme Court is going to uphold it also.